Positive Commandments, Part 1. 1. The first of the positive commandments is the mitzvah to know that there is a God, as it states, I am God, your Lord. 2. To unify him, as Deuteronomy states, God is our Lord, God is one. 3. To love him, as Deuteronomy states, you shall love God, your God. 4. To fear him, as Deuteronomy states, fear God, your Lord. 5. To pray, as Exodus states, you shall serve God, your Lord. The service is prayer. 6. To clink him, as Deuteronomy states, you shall clink him. 7. To swear in his name, as Deuteronomy states, you shall swear in his name. 8. To emulate his good way and just ways, as Deuteronomy states, you shall walk in his ways. 9. To sanctify his name, as Leviticus states, and I shall be sanctified amidst the children of Israel. 10. To recite the Shema twice daily, as Deuteronomy states, and you shall speak of them when you lie down and when you arise. 11. To study Torah and teach to others, Deuteronomy states, and you shall teach them to your children. 12. To light tefillin, to tie tefillin upon our heads, as Deuteronomy states, and there shall be an emblem between your eyes. 13. To tie tefillin upon our arms, as Deuteronomy states, you shall tie them for a sign upon your arms. 14. To make tzitzis, as Numbers states, you shall make tzitzis for them. 15. To affix them mezuzahs, Deuteronomy states, you shall write them on the doorposts of your home. 16. To collect the people to hear the Torah being read in the year following the Shemitah year, as Deuteronomy states, gather together the people. 17. For each man to write a Torah scroll for himself, as Deuteronomy states, write down this song. 18. For the king to write a second Torah for himself, in addition to the one which he is required to write to fill the mitzvah incumbent upon every man. Thus he will have 2 Torah scrolls, Deuteronomy states, and you shall write for himself a copy of this Torah. 19. To bless God after eating, as Deuteronomy states, and you eat and are satisfied, you shall bless God your Lord. 20. To build God's chosen house, the temple, as Exodus states, and you shall make a sanctuary for me. 21. To revere this house, as Leviticus states, and revere my sanctuary. 22. To keep watch over this house continuously, as Numbers states, and you and your descendants before the tent of testimony, and they shall keep the watch. 23. For the Levites to serve in the sanctuary, as Numbers states, and the Levites shall serve. 24. For a priest to sanctify his hands and feet at the time of the service of the temple, as Exodus states, and Aaron and his sons shall wash. 25. To prepare the candles of the sanctuary, as Exodus states, Aaron and his sons shall prepare. 26. For the priest to bless the Jews, as Numbers states, in this manner you shall bless the children of Israel. 27. To arrange bread and frankincense before God in the temple on every Shabbos, as Exodus states, you shall place the showbread on the table. 28. To burn a spice offering twice each day, as Exodus states, and Aaron shall burn incense upon it. 29. To keep a fire burning on the altar for burnt offerings continually, as Leviticus states, and you shall keep a fire burning continuously on the altar. 30. To remove the ashes from the altar, as Leviticus states, and he shall remove the ashes. 31. Send impure people out for the camp of the divine presence, i.e., the sanctuary, as Numbers states, you shall send them from the camp all the lepers and Yizav, anyone who was contracted impurity because of a corpse. 32. To show honor to Aaron's descendants, to give them priority regarding all holy matters, Leviticus states, you shall sanctify him. 33. To clothe the priest the garments for the service of the temple, as Leviticus states, you shall make holy garments. 34. To carry the ark upon their shoulders when it is to be carried, as Numbers states, they shall carry it on their shoulders. 35. To anoint the high priest, the kings, with anointing oil, as Leviticus states, and as Exodus states, anoint Aaron, this shall be sacred anointing oil. 36. For the priest to serve in the sanctuary, individual watches for them to serve as one on the festivals, as Deuteronomy states, when the Levites shall come, he could serve with the exception of that which is theirs by ancestral right. 37. For the priest to become ritually impure and mourn for their relatives in the same manner as other Jews who are commanded to mourn, as Leviticus states, he shall become impure for her. 38. For a high priest to marry a virgin, as Leviticus states, he shall marry a woman who is a virgin. 39. To offer Tamid offerings each day, as Numbers states, this is the fire offering twice each day continuously. 40. For the high priest to offer a meal offering each day, as Leviticus states, this is the sacrifice of Aaron and his descendants. 41. To offer an additional sacrifice every Shabbos, as Numbers states, on the Shabbos day 2 lambs. 42. To offer an additional sacrifice every Rosh Chodesh, as Numbers states, on your Rosh Chodesh. 43. To offer an additional sacrifice on Pesach, as Leviticus states, for 7 days you will bring an offering unto God. 44. To bring the meal offering of the Omer on the day after the Pesach, the first day of Pesach, together with the single lambs, Leviticus states, you shall bring the Omer. 45. To offer the additional sacrifice on Shavuos, as Numbers states, on the first day of the first fruits Bikurim. On the day of the first fruits, Bikurim. 46. To bring 2 loaves and the sacrifices which accompany the loaves on Shavuos, Leviticus states, from your dwellings, bring bread as a wave offering, and you shall offer upon the bread. 47. To offer an additional sacrifice for Rosh Hashanah, as Numbers states, on the 7th month, on the first day of the month. On the first of the month. 48. To offer additional sacrifices in the fasting of Kippur, as Numbers states, on the 10th of the 7th month. 49. To carry out the service of the fasting of Kippur, as Leviticus states, in this manner, and will enter the inner sanctuary with a young bull. All the particulars of the service are stated in the Parashat Vayikra. 50. To offer additional sacrifice on the holiday of Sukkot, as Numbers states, you shall present a burnt offering as a pleasing fragrance. 51. To offer additional sacrifice on Shemini Atzeres, for its festival in its own right, as Numbers states, and on the 8th day. 52. To celebrate on the festivals, as Exodus states, you shall celebrate 3 festivals for me. 53. To appear before God in the temple of the festivals, Deuteronomy states, on 3 occasions during the year, all your males shall appear. 54. To rejoice in the festivals, Deuteronomy states, you shall rejoice on your festivals. 54. To slaughter the Paschal lamb, as Exodus states, and the entire congregation shall slaughter it. 56. To eat the meat of the Paschal sacrifice roast of the night of the 15th of Nisan, as Exodus states, and they shall eat the meat. 57. To offer the second Paschal sacrifice, as Numbers states, in the 2nd month, on the 14th of the month. 58. To eat the meat of the second Paschal offering together with the matzahs and bitter herbs, as Numbers states, and you shall eat it with matzahs and bitter herbs. 59. To sound the trumpets with the sacrifices are offered in the times of difficulty, and at times of difficulty, as Numbers states, and you shall sound the trumpets. 60. For all animals to be sacrificed after their 8th day of life, as Leviticus states, and on the 8th day and afterwards. 61, for all animal offerings to be unblemished, as Leviticus states, when it is unblemished, it will be desirable. 62, the salt, all the sacrifices, as Leviticus states, offer salt on all your sacrifices. 63, the burnt offering, as Leviticus states, if his is a burnt offering. 64, the sin offering, as Leviticus states, these are the laws of the sin offering. 65, the guilt offering, as Leviticus states, these are the laws of the guilt offering. 66, the peace offering, as Leviticus states, these are the laws of the peace offering. 67, the meal offering, as Leviticus states, when a person presents a meal offering. 68, for the high court to offer a sacrifice if it renders an erroneous decision, as Leviticus states, if the entire congregation shall err. 69, for each individual to offer a sin offering if he unintentionally violates a negative commandment by punishable by cutters, as Leviticus states, when a person sins. 70, for an individual to offer a sacrifice if he's in doubt whether or not he transgressed the prohibition for which he would be liable for a sin offering, as Leviticus states, if he does not know he still bears responsibility, he shall bring his guilt offering. This is referred to as the conditional guilt offering. 71, for the following individuals: a person who unknowingly used sacred property, a person who has sinned by stealing, one who had relations with a maidservant is designated for another person, one who designed possession of an entrusted object and took a false oath to bring a guilt offering. This is referred to as the unconditional guilt offering. 72, to offer the just guilt offering and atonement for a violation of certain transgressions. Leviticus states, if his means are not sufficient, if his means do not suffice. 73, for a person to confess before God any sins which he has committed. This applies when he brings a sacrifice for atonement, when he does not bring a sacrifice, as Numbers states, and they shall confess the sins that they committed. 74, for a Zebah to offer a sacrifice when he becomes purified after his affliction, as Leviticus states, when a Zebah will become pure. 75, for a Zebah to offer a sacrifice when she becomes purified after her affliction, as Leviticus states, when she becomes pure from the condition of Zava. 76, for a person afflicted with Torah to offer a sacrifice after he becomes purified, as Leviticus states, on the 8th day he shall take. 77, for a woman to give birth after to offer a sacrifice after she becomes purified, as Leviticus states, on the conclusion of her pure days. 78, tithe one's herd, as Leviticus states, all the tithes of your cattle and sheep. 79, to sanctify the firstborn of a kosher animal offered as sacrifice, as Deuteronomy says, every firstling which shall be born. 80, to redeem firstborns, so firstborn sons. The number states, however, you must surely redeem firstborn humans. 81, to redeem a firstling donkey, as Exodus states, redeem a firstling donkey with a sheep. 82, to decapitate a firstling donkey which is not redeemed, as Exodus states, if you do not redeem it, you must decapitate it. 83, for a person to bring all the sacrifices which he is liable, be they obligatory or voluntary offerings, on the first pilgrimage festival that occurs, as Deuteronomy says, you shall come there and you shall bring there. Positive Commandments, Part 2, 84, to sacrifice all the offerings in God's house, now i.e. the temple, as Deuteronomy states, there you will perform all that I command you. 85, to tend to the offerings of the Yasper and bring them back to Israel, to God's chosen house, i.e. the temple, as Deuteronomy states, take the sacred offerings which you possess and your pledges and come to the place that God will choose. Based on the oral tradition, we have learned this applies to sacred offerings from the diaspora. 86, to redeem sacred offerings that have become blemished and thus have them to be permitted from mundane use, as Deuteronomy states, but whenever you desire, you may slaughter. Based on the oral tradition, we have learned that this refers to only the sacred offerings which have become disqualified and been redeemed. 87, that an animal substituted for a sacred offering be regarded as sacred, as Leviticus states, both the original animal and the one substituted for it shall be consecrated. 88, to eat the remains of the meal offering, as Leviticus states, Aaron and his sons will eat the remainder of it. 89, to eat the flesh of the sin and guilt offerings, as Exodus states, and they shall eat the sacrifice with which atonement was made for them. 90, to burn sacred meat which became impure, as Leviticus states, and the flesh which touches anything impure shall be burnt. 91, to burn the leftovers from the sacrifice. Leviticus states, leftovers from the flesh of the sacrifice shall be burnt with fire on the third day. For a Nazarite to 92, for a Nazarite to grow his hair long, as Number states, he shall let the hair of his head grow without cutting it. 93, for a Nazarite to shave his hair when bringing sacrifices at the conclusion of his term as Nazarite, or during his Nazarite term if he becomes impure, as Number states, shall a person die in his presence, he must shave. 94, for a person to fulfill any promise which he utters, be it a sacrifice, a gift, to charity or the like, as Deuteronomy states, what you have spoken, take heed to fulfill. 95, to carry laws regarding the nullification of vows mentioned in the Torah. 96, for anyone who comes in contact with the corpse of an animal to become impure, as Leviticus states, shall an animal die. 97, for the dead bodies of the 8 species of crawling animals mentioned in the Torah to impart ritual impurity, as Leviticus states, these shall become impure for you. 98, for certain foods to impart impurity, as Leviticus states, from all the food which you will eat. 99, for a woman who is in the needed state will be impure and to impart impurity to others. 100, for a woman who gives birth to be impure, like a woman in the needed state. 101, for a person afflicted with tzaraas to be impure and to impart impurity. 102, for a garment afflicted with tzaraas to become impure and impart impurity. 103, for a house afflicted with tzaraas to impart impurity. 104, for a Zebah to impart impurity. 105, for a semen to impart impurity. 106, for a Zebah to impart impurity. 107, for a corpse to impart impurity. 108, for the sprinkling water used for the purification process involving the red heifer to impart impurity to a person who was ritually pure, and to impart ritual purity to a person who was ritually impure solely because of contact with a human corpse. All the laws dealing with these different types of impurity, and the majority of the judgments regarding all types of ritual purity and impurity explained explicitly in the written law. 109, for the process of purification for all types of ritual impurity to involve immersion in the waters of a mixed. Leviticus states, he shall wash all his flesh in water. Based on the oral tradition, we have learned that this washing involves immersion of the body in a body of water in which one's entire body can immerse at one time. 110. The process of purification with teras, be it a person afflicted with teras or a house afflicted with teras, to involve a staff of cedar, hyssop, and crimson wool, 2 birds, and spring water. This shall be the purification process for the person afflicted with teras. 111. For a person afflicted with teras to shave all his hair, as Leviticus states, and it shall be on the 7th day he shall shave all his hair. 112. For a person afflicted with teras to make known his condition to all others, according to the instruction mentioned in Leviticus, his garment shall be torn, his hair shall grow uncut, he shall cover his face to the lip, and he shall cry out, impure, impure. Similarly, all others who are ritually impure must make known their condition. 113. To prepare the bed heifer so that its ash will be ready, as number states, and it will be a keepsake for the congregation of Israel. 114. For a person who makes an endowment valuation to give the specific amount of money stated in the Torah portion, as Leviticus states, when a person expresses a vow. 115. For a person who makes an endowment valuation concerning a non-kosher animal to give the required amount of money, as Leviticus states, and he shall cause the animal to stand. 116. For a person who makes the endowment valuation concerning his home to give the value determined by the priest, as Leviticus states, and the priest shall determine its value. 117. For a person who consecrates his field to get a fixed amount determined by the Torah, as Leviticus states, and the value you shall attach to it shall be according to the amount of seed. 118. For a person who unintentionally makes use of a sacred object to make restitution for what he misused when sinning against God, and for him to add 1/5 of its value, as Leviticus states, for what he sinned, for that which he sinned using something sacred, he shall pay. 119. For the produce of the 4 years to be sacred, as Leviticus states, its produce shall be sacred, an object of praise to God. 120. To leave pay. 121. To leave legat. 122. To leave a forgotten sheaf. 123. To leave incompletely formed grape clusters. 124. To leave the individual fallen grapes. With regard to these 5 mitzvahs, Leviticus states, leave them for the poor and the stranger. This verse states the positive commandments for all these. 125. To bring the first fruits to God's chosen house. The temple, as Exodus states, the first fruits of your land. 126. Separate the grain of Torah and give it to the priest. Deuteronomy states, give him the first of your grain. 127. To separate the tithe of grain and give it to the Levites. So Leviticus states, all the land's tithes. 128. To separate the second tithe so that it can be eaten by its owners in Jerusalem. Deuteronomy states, you shall surely tithe according to your oath. There shall be learned. This refers to the second tithe. 129. For the Levites to separate a tenth from the tenth which they took from the Israelites and give it to the priests, as number states, speak to the Levites. 130. To separate the tithe from the poor instead of the second tithe in the 3rd and 6th years of the 7-year agricultural cycle, as Deuteronomy states, at the end of the 3 years, remove a tithe from all your crops. 131. To give thanks, recite declarations under the tithes, as Deuteronomy states, and you shall declare before God your God, I have removed the sacred foods. 132. To read the statement acknowledging thanks for the first fruits, as Deuteronomy states, and you shall respond and say before God your Lord. 133. To separate challah and give it to the priest, as the number states, the first of your dough, your challah, you shall separate as an offering. 134. To let the land lie fallow in the 7th year, as Exodus states, in the 7th year you shall let it lie fallow and withdraw from it. 135. To refrain from agricultural work in the 7th year, as Exodus states, from plowing and harvesting you shall rest. 136. To sanctify the Jubilee year by refraining from agricultural work, as it is done in the Shemitah, as Leviticus states, you shall sanctify the 50th year. 137. To sound the shofar in the Jubilee year, as Leviticus states, and you shall sound the shofar blast. 138. To free all land in the Jubilee year, as Leviticus states, for all your ancestral land will be redemption from the land. 139. To allow houses in a walled city to be redeemed within a year, as Leviticus states, if a person shall sell a residential house in a walled city. 140. To count the years of the Jubilee and the Shemitah years within it, as Leviticus states, and you shall count 7 Shemitah years. 141. To remit all financial obligations in the 7th year, Deuteronomy states, every creditor must remit. 142. To seek to collect debt from the Gentile in the 7th year, as Deuteronomy states, seek to collect debt from a Gentile. However, what your brother owes you, you must remit. 143. To give a priest the shank bone, the jaw, and the maw from animal which is slaughtered, as Deuteronomy states, you shall give the priest the shank bone. 144. To give the first portion of the fleece to a priest, as Deuteronomy states, give him the first portion of the shearing of your sheep. 145. To render judgment with regard to property which is dedicated to whether dedicated to God or dedicated to the priest, as Leviticus states, however, any dedication that will be made. 146. Slaughter an animal, beast, or fowl, and afterwards to eat their meat, as Deuteronomy states, you shall slaughter your cattle and your sheep. I like that one. 147. To cover the blood of the beasts and fowl which are slaughtered, Leviticus states, and you shall pour out its blood and cover it with dust. 148. To send away the mother bird from the nest when taking the young, as Deuteronomy states, you shall surely send away the mother. 149. To check the signs which animals are identified as kosher, as Leviticus states, these are the animals which you may eat. 150. To check the signs that are found in order to differentiate between which one is kosher, which one is not kosher. Deuteronomy states, all birds which. 151. To check the signs of grasshoppers in order to know which is kosher and which is not, as Leviticus states, those which possess walking legs. 152. To check the signs with which fish are identified as kosher. Leviticus states, these are the animals which you may eat from all that is found in water. 153. To sanctify the months and to calculate the years and the months. This mitzvah is incumbent upon the court alone, as Exodus states, this month will be for you the first of the month. 154. To rest on the Shabbos, as Exodus states, rest on the 7th day. 155. To sanctify the Shabbos, as Exodus states, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 156. To destroy chametz before Pesach, as Exodus states, on the day before the holiday, obliterate chametz from your homes. 157. To relate the narrative of the exodus of Egypt on the first night of the feast of matzahs, as Exodus states, and you shall tell your son on that day. 158. To eat matzah on on this night, as Exodus states. In the evening you shall eat matzahs 159. The rest on the first day of Pesach, as Exodus states. On the first day it shall be a sacred holiday. 160 the rest on the seventh day as of the festivals. Exodus states on the seventh day there will be a sacred holiday. 161 to count 49 days from the harvesting of the Omer, as Leviticus states. You shall count from the day following the day of rests. 162 to rest on the 50th day after Pesach, Leviticus states, and you shall proclaim a sacred holiday on that self-same day. 163 to rest on the first day of the 7th month, Leviticus states, on the first day of this month you shall have a day of rest. 164 to fast on the 10th of this month, Yom Kippur, as Leviticus states, on the 10th of the month you shall afflict your souls. 165 to rest on this fast day, as Leviticus states, it shall be the Sabbath of Sabbaths. 166 to rest on the first day of the festival of Sukkot, Leviticus states, on the first day there shall be a sacred holiday. Positive Commandments, Part 3. 167 to rest on the 8th day of this festival, as Leviticus states, on the 8th day there shall be a sacred holiday. 168 to dwell in Sukkah for 7 days, as Leviticus states, and you shall dwell in Sukkot for 7 days. 169 to take the lulav and the other 3 species of, as Leviticus says, you shall take for yourself on the first day the first of a beautiful tree, a palm branch. 170 to hear the sound of the shofar, Rosh Hashanah, as number states, it will be a day of shofar blast for you. 171 to give a half shekel each year, as Exodus states, this shall be given by those included in the census. 172 to listen to any prophet who will rise in any era, that he does not add or detract from Torah's commandments, as Deuteronomy states, you shall listen to him. 173 to appoint a king, as Deuteronomy states, you shall set a king upon yourselves. 174 to obey the high court regarding all ordinances they establish for Israel, as Deuteronomy states, carry out the judgment which they render for you. 175 to follow the majority if there is a difference of opinion in the heaven concerning a law, as Exodus states, follow after the majority. 176 to appoint judges and court officers in each and every Jewish community, as Deuteronomy states, appoint judges and court officers. 177 to treat litigants equally when they appear in court to be judged. Leviticus states, judge your fellow man with righteousness. 178 for anyone who has evidence to testify in court, as Leviticus states, if he was a witness, saw, or knew. 179 to cross-examine the witnesses thoroughly, as Deuteronomy states, you must investigate and probe, making careful inquiry. 180 to punish false witnesses by giving them the same penalty that which to have imposed upon the defendants. Deuteronomy states, you shall do to him what he plotted to do to his brother. 181 to decapitate the calf brought as atonement for an unsolved murder and for an unsolved murder as required, as Deuteronomy states, you shall decapitate the calf there in the river. 182 to prepare 6 refugee cities, as Deuteronomy states, prepare the way and divide into 3 the boundary. 183 to give the Levite cities which dwell they also serve as refugee centers. The number states, you shall give cities to the Levites. 184 to construct a guardrail, as Deuteronomy states, and you shall construct a guardrail for your roof. 185 to destroy false gods and all their objects of worship, as Deuteronomy states, and you shall surely destroy. 186 to slay the inhabitants of the apostate city and burn the cities, Deuteronomy states, you shall burn the city and all its spoils with fire. 187 to destroy the 7 nations that dwell in Eretz Yisrael, Deuteronomy states, you shall utterly destroy them. 188 to exterminate the city of Amalek, as Deuteronomy states, blot out the memory of Amalek. 189 to constantly remember what Amalek did to us, as Deuteronomy states, remember what Amalek did to you. To 190 to wage a voluntary war according to the laws prescribed by the Torah, as Deuteronomy states, when you approach the city. 191 to appoint a priest who will address the people before battle, as Deuteronomy states, and come to pass when you approach the battle, the priest will come forward and speak to the people. 192 to prepare a place outside the army camp for use as a latrine, as Deuteronomy states, prepare a place for yourself outside the camp. 193 to prepare a shovel to cover one's excrement, as Deuteronomy states, you shall have a shovel in addition to your weapons. 194 to return a stolen object, as Leviticus states, and he shall return the object which he stole. 195 to give charity, as Deuteronomy states, you shall surely open your hand to your poor brother. 196 to give a severance gift to a Hebrew servant, as Deuteronomy states, you shall surely give him gifts. Similarly, gift is given to a Hebrew maidservant. 197 to lend to the poor, as Exodus states, if you will lend money to my people. In this instance, the word if does not refer to a matter left to one's own volition, but to a commandment, as Deuteronomy states, you shall surely lend him. 198 to lend to a Gentile at interest, as Deuteronomy states, take interest from a Gentile based on the oral tradition. We have learned this is a positive commandment. 199 to return security to its owner, as Deuteronomy states, you shall surely return the security to him. 200 to pay a worker his wage on time, as Deuteronomy states, pay him his wage on the day it is due. 201 for a hired worker to be allowed to eat from produce while he is working with it, as Deuteronomy states, when you enter your neighbor's vineyard, when you enter your neighbor's standing grain. 202 to assist a colleague in unloading a burden which he or his beast is carrying, as Exodus states, you shall surely help him. 203 to help a colleague load a burden onto a beast, as Deuteronomy states, you shall lift it up with him. 204 to return a lost object, as Deuteronomy states, you shall return them to your brother. 205 to rebuke a person who sins, as Leviticus states, you shall surely rebuke your fellow man. 206 to love every member of our people, as Leviticus states, you shall surely love your neighbor as yourself. 207 to love a convert, as Deuteronomy states, you shall love a convert. 208 to balance the scales with correct weights, as Leviticus states, you shall have correct scales with correct weights. 209 to honor the sages, Leviticus states, rise before an elder. 210 to honor one's father and mother, as Exodus states, honor your father and mother. 2:11, to fear one's mother and father. Leviticus states a person must fear his mother and his father. 2:12, to be fruitful and multiply. Genesis states be fruitful and multiply. 2:13, to have sexual relations only within marriage, as Deuteronomy states if a man takes a woman as a wife. 2:14, for a groom to rejoice together with his wife for a year, as Deuteronomy states he shall be free for his home for 1 year. 2:15, to circumcise his sons. Leviticus states on the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. 2:16, to marry the widow of one's brother who died childless, as Deuteronomy states her yavam shall come out unto her. 2:17, to remove the yavam shuv. He does not marry his brother's widow, as Deuteronomy states, and he shall remove his shoe from his foot. She shall remove his shoe from his foot. 2:18, for a rapist to marry the woman he raped, as Deuteronomy states, she shall become his wife. LOL. 2:19, for a person who made defamatory remarks about his wife to remain married to her for his entire life, as Deuteronomy states, she shall become his wife. He may not send her away for his entire life. LOL. 2:20, to carry out the judgment concerning a seducer, finding him 50 shekels, and carrying out the other laws regarding this matter, as Exodus states, if a person will seduce. 2:22, to carry out the procedure the Torah prescribes for Yafas Tayyar, as Deuteronomy states, if you will see a beautiful woman among the captives. 2:22, to divorce with a get, as Deuteronomy says, that he shall write a bill of divorce for her and place it in her hand. 2:23, to carry out the procedure prescribed for a Shavt, as Numbers states, and the priest will carry out these laws for her. 2:24, to whip the wicked, as Deuteronomy states, the judge will cast him down and beat him. 2:25, to exile a person who accidentally kills a person, as Numbers states, and he shall dwell there until the high priest dies. 2:26, for a court to execute by decapitation, as Exodus states, revenge shall be taken. 2:27, for a court to execute by strangulation, as Leviticus states, the adulterer and adulteress shall die. 2:28, for a court to execute by burning the condemned with fire, as Leviticus states, they shall burn him and them with fire. 2:29, for a court to execute by stoning the condemned with stones, as Deuteronomy states, and you shall stone them. 2:30, to hang the corpses of those liable by hanging, as Deuteronomy states, you shall hang them on the gallows. 2:31, to bury the body of the executed person on the same day of his execution, as Deuteronomy states, you shall surely bury him on that day. 2:32, to carry out the laws concerning a Hebrew servant, as Exodus states, when you purchase a Hebrew servant. 2:33, to marry a Hebrew maid servant, as Exodus states, who has designated her for himself, and she will be redeemed. 2:34, to redeem a Hebrew maid servant, as Exodus states, and she will be redeemed. 2:35, to have a Canaanite servant serve forever, as Leviticus states, you shall have them serve you forever. 2:36, for a person who injures a colleague to pay him his damages, Exodus states, if men will quarrel and one man will strike his colleague. 2:37, to judge regarding the damages caused by an ox, as Exodus states, if an ox belonging to one person shall gore as an ox belonging to a colleague. 2:38, to judge regarding the damages caused by a pit, as Exodus states, if a person will open a pit. 2:39, to judge a thief obligating him for payment or execution, as Exodus states, shall a theft be perpetrated, as Exodus states, if when breaking in, and as Exodus states, if one kidnaps a person and sells them. 2:40, to judge a person regarding the damages caused by grazing, as Exodus states, if a person will graze his animals in the field or vineyard. 2:41, to judge regarding the damages caused by fire, as Exodus states, if a fire will break out, catch in thorns. 2:42, to render judgment in questions regarding an unpaid watchman, as Exodus states, if a person will give a colleague money or utensils to watch. 2:34, as to render judgment in question regarding a paid watchman, as Exodus states, should a person give a donkey or an ox. 2:44, to render judgment in question regarding a borrower, as Exodus states, if a person will borrow from a colleague. 2:45, to render judgment in question regarding business transactions, as Leviticus states, if you sell merchandise to your colleague. 2:46, to render judgment in questions regarding claims made by one person against another, as Exodus states, for every matter of trespass concerning an ox, concerning a donkey, or concerning sheep. 2:47, to save a person who is being pursued, even if it is necessary to kill the pursuer, as Deuteronomy states, and you shall cut off her hand. 2:48, to render judgment in questions regarding inheritances, as Numbers states, if a person dies without having a son.